the 6 special characteristics of the Buddha's enlightenment or his wisdom. So these 6 kind of special characteristics or the wisdom we cannot find in any other religious teachers in this world. Therefore, they are called extraordinary characteristic in the Buddha. This is called asadharana jnana, incomparable. There is no any other teacher that we can compare with the Buddha's wisdom. So one of them is called Indriya Paro Pariyaya, Indriya Paro Pariyatti Jnana. Meaning is given here in the Treasure of the Dhamma in this book, page 45. Those who have books, when they go back, they can read so that they can get better understanding. The Buddha's senses are purified, free from all defilement, and are always directed through the 5 virtues of confidence, saddha, mindfulness, sati, calmness, samadhi, energy, viriya, and wisdom. His realizations of all these qualities enable him to see the purity and impurity of others' mind and to preach Dhamma for their benefit. The meaning is, when he look at others, when he observe others' mind, he can understand how far their minds are pure or deluded or confused or weak or strong or energetic or intelligent. He can understand. This is why people can straight away realize the Dhamma or attain sainthood after listening to the Buddha. Because he preached by observing their mind, whether they can understand this or not, and what are the hindrances in their mind to understand the Dhamma. Now, when we preach, we do not know whether people can understand what we talk and what are the difficulties that they are having for them to understand the Dhamma. So by knowing this situation, the Buddha always preach in such a way for people to understand. Now, when we talk to small children, we know what to talk and how to talk. When we talk to adults, we don't use the children's language. Again, when we talk to well-educated people, we change our words and terms and expressions and interpretation. When we talk to uneducated people, again we change our words and certain terms for them to understand easily. This is the example. So in the case of the Buddha, he studied the mind, how far people can understand, or what are the problems that they are having for them to understand the Dhamma. This is one of the special features or the characteristics of the Buddha's enlightenment or his wisdom. And the second one is Asayanusaya Jnana. when he is going to preach, he studies others' mind to find out whether these people have developed their mind during their previous birth also, whether they have been working, developing, cultivating their mind according to the religious way of life, whether they are used to this way of religious way of life, and how far they have developed their mind by cultivating their education and their understanding. But others cannot understand these things. Only the Buddha can. Then he preached in such a way for people to understand the Dhamma very easily, because they had previous experience. Now in our case, we do not know, during our previous birth also we have learned the Dhamma or not, whether we have led a religious way of life or not, whether we have studied the Dhamma or not. These are our problems. But the Buddha straight away find out individuals' mind, how far they have developed their mind, so that he preached in such a way for them to understand the Dhamma very easily. That is why there are many stories. After listening the few words from the Buddha, many of them have attained arahanthood or sainthood or realized the Dhamma. That means they have developed their mind during their previous birth also. Those who have not used to this way of religious way of life cannot grasp or cannot take into the mind or cannot realize at once, because they are strangers to this way of life. Many people are not interested in religion. That means they are not used to religious way of life. They have been dealing with only worldly material things, worldly life. Anyahi labhopanisa anya nibbanagamini. These sayings of the Buddha clearly explain the way to Nibbana is one method. The way for worldly progress, worldly life, is another method. These two never go together. The more we get involved with worldly life, the more we keep away from Nibbanic bliss. The more we work to get into Nibbanic bliss, the more we reduce worldly burdens and responsibilities. This is the nature of our life. So these two things never work together. That is why many people renounce, keep away from worldly life, knowing the worldly life hinders, interrupts, disturbs the purity or bliss or Nibbanic life. Because when we are going to deal with worldly things, we have to commit so many mistakes. We had to tell lies, we had to bluff others, and we had to use force, and we had to get involved with certain things that we know they are not perfect, they are immoral, they are not suitable. Then, while leading a worldly life, it is very difficult to keep away from them. But those who can keep away from these things, then what they do? They renounce. Then there are no commitment, no responsibilities, no worries, no disturbances, nobody to make them angry, nobody to create jealousy, nobody to come and disturb, harm them. They will be free from all these hindrances. This is the advantage of renunciation, keeping away from worldly life. But people like the worldly life. The reason is their sensual pleasure, craving for pleasure is very strong. It is not so easy to keep away or to reduce from sensual pleasure. Then all our troubles and problems and difficulties and quarrels and violence and bloodshed take place because of this. That crazy attitude toward worldly pleasure is the main cause. Not only human beings, even animals also, we can see how they attack each other because of this sensual pleasure. And devas also not free from disturbances, jealousy, anger, hatred because of this sensual pleasure. So the more we reduce this way of life, then the mind gets more relief, more satisfaction, more happiness, because no burdens, no interruption, no disturbances in the mind. Now we can see the differences of the way to Nibbana is one method, the way to worldly life is another method. The next one is Yamaka Maha Patihariya Jnana, twin miracle. This kind of miracles can be performed only by the Buddha. The Buddha was not interested in worldly miracles. When the disciples come and ask whether there is any miracle according to his teaching, he said, the highest miracle is this. If you can change the mind of a wicked man, cruel man, to be a very kind and very understanding man, that is a miracle. If you can change the mind of a very stingy man who never give anything to anybody to be a very generous man, it is a miracle. If you can change the mind of a stupid man who cannot understand anything, who never take the trouble to understand anything, to be an understanding person, that is the highest miracle. It is not just flying in the air, walking on the water, appearing and disappearing. These things are just like small children's play to the Buddha. His hometown, Kapilavatthu, 7 years after his renunciation, his father was very anxiously waiting to see his son. When he heard, now he is a Buddha, he has sent so many messengers, but the Buddha did not come. Finally, he decided, because his father also getting old. When he came to his own town, he belonged to Sakya clan, Sakya family, the rulers. They are very proud people. Usually they do not pay respect to others because they are the rulers. So when the Buddha visited the town, elderly people decided not to stand in front, because if they were close to the Buddha, they had to pay respect. What they did, they asked all the young ones to stand in the front, so they can pay respect, but not the elders. So they did not pay respect to the Buddha. Then the Buddha knew they are very proud by nature, made them to understand that Sakya Muni, Gautama, is not an ordinary man. He is an enlightened religious teacher. Then he performed this twin miracle, another kind. What is that? Spreading the fire and water both from the same spot, because the fire and water cannot come from the same spot, must separate. But here, the fire and water both come from the same spot, from all over the body, spreading like this, fire and water, fire and water, fire. They could not understand how he performed this. Then they realized, this man is not an ordinary man. Definitely, he might have gained his enlightenment. Then the elders also come forward and paid respect. Because there were some occasions that he had to perform this kind of miracle when he come to know that he cannot convince them by talking, by preaching. They must show something. Just like teaching children through illustration. Simply by writing or teachings and talking, children cannot understand. So when we show some illustration, very easily they can understand. Exactly in the same manner, there were many occasions the Buddha had to perform this kind of miracles to convince the people for them to lead a religious way of life. This is another special characteristic of the Buddha. Next one, Maha Karuna Samapatti Jnana. Great compassion. There are many other compassionate, kind-hearted human beings in this world. But their kindness, their compassion is limited. They cannot extend their compassion or kindness universally without any discrimination. Take for instance, when we extend our kindness, we limit only to our race, our nationality, but not to others. If not only to followers of our religion, but not to the followers of other religion. This is the nature of the human mind. If not our kindness is limited only for the human beings, not for other living beings. If not, our kindness is limited only for who live on this earth, but not in the water. If not, our kindness is limited for all those living beings in this planet, but not the other living beings in various other planets. And now you can see the difference. So our kindness is limited only to our family, if not to our relatives or friends. Cannot extend further. So the nature of the Buddha's kindness and compassion is called Maha Karuna, great compassion, because there is no boundary, there is no limit. His kindness, His compassion, He extended to every living being in this whole universe, not only in this world. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. We always recite this. May all living beings, sabbe satta, may all living beings, bhavantu sukhitatta, may they live peacefully and happily. This is our way of extending that universal, unbounded, unlimited compassion without any discrimination. If we limit, it is not Maha Karuna, only one aspect, but not fully. He gained his enlightenment by extending this kindness even during his so many previous births, not only within that lifetime. Otherwise, he cannot gain enlightenment. Every morning, for 45 years, every morning when he gets up, the first thing that he does is survey the world by using his psychic power, his enlightenment. He go on searching whether anybody needs his service. Then that person's picture appears in his mind. After that, he goes there. Maybe a long distance. And what kind of services? Some are terrorists, some are murderers, some are gangsters, some are robbers, some are leading very immoral, indecent life. Then he goes there. To tame, to train, to teach, for them to lead respectable way of life. That is how he spent for 45 years, almost every day. Let us take one or two examples. So one day, he saw a cannibal in the jungle called devil live on human flesh. If any human being goes around that way, he goes and catch him and eat. That is his way of life. So one day, the king of that country went for hunting animals in the jungle. The king was caught by this cannibal. Then the king said, I am the ruler of this country. If you release me, every day I can send one human being for you to eat. Then he said, under this condition, if you break your promise, I will come and catch you. The king said, no, I will never break the promise. So he had been sending one by one. First he started sending old men and old women. Nobody knew this. Secretly he did that. One by one disappeared. After that, he started sending small children. One day, when the Buddha was surveying, he saw this cannibal is leading this way of life. Then he decided to go. So when he visited, that cannibal was not there. He was living in a cave in the jungle. His attendant was there. He was a nice man. He asked the Buddha, please don't come. My master is a dangerous man. He eats human flesh. The Buddha said, don't worry about me. He went alone. He went inside the cave where he lived. Then the cannibal came. He saw somebody is inside in his cave. He really could not understand who this man who had the courage to come and sit down in my cave. He wanted to kill the Buddha by torturing him, punishing him. He tried and tried and tried, but he could not do that. Finally, he had to surrender, the cannibal. Then he promised to follow the Buddha's advice and stop eating human flesh anymore. And he became the follower of the Buddha. Another man called Angulimala, who has killed nearly 1,000 human beings. The Buddha came to know this. He went. When he saw the Buddha was coming, he does not know anything about the Buddha. On that day, he has completed 999 human beings. Made a vow to kill 1,000. That day, he decided, I don't care even my mother. If I happen to meet today, I kill her. I complete 1,000. That is why the Buddha, before he kills his own mother, he wanted to go. He wanted to catch the Buddha. He was running with his sword. The Buddha walked in normal way. He was running and running and running and running, but he could not come nearer to the Buddha. This is another miracle. Purposely he did that. Allow him to run. He had to run more than 4 miles, but still could not come nearer to the Buddha. Now he cannot run anymore. He shouted, Stop. Then the Buddha knew. Better to talk to him now. He said, I have already stopped. You are the one who runs. He could not understand this. He said, how can you say you have stopped? I saw you are walking. Then he said, the Buddha, I said I have stopped. That means I have stopped killing living beings long ago. You are the one who runs. Means you are going on killing and killing other living beings. Then Angulimala realized. Then they had a talk. He realized that he is doing the very bad and cruel, wicked thing. Then decided to follow the Buddha, and he was ordained as a monk, Angulimala. So there are hundreds of cases how he trained such wicked, cruel, harmful, dangerous human beings. So, his compassion is not limited only to human beings or to good people, but without any discrimination for all living beings. Not only that, he also advised the monks and nuns not to destroy plant life. The only religious teacher who supported environment. He was born under a sala tree. He gained his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. He passed away under sala tree. Most of his time is spent in jungles. He respected plant life. This is also another good lesson. The whole world who destroy plant life today. So it is one of the precepts for the monks not to destroy a plant life. There is an incident. One day, a monk wanted to cut down a big tree. When he started to cut this tree, there was a female deva. They are called earthbound devas, not heavenly devas. Earthbound devas, close to human life, but they have some sort of supernatural power. That's all. And this tree is the house, shelter for these devas. And he appealed to these monks not to cut down this tree. He did not listen. He was a stubborn monk. Then reported to the Buddha. And after that, the Buddha announced, in future, the monk should not cut down any tree, not to destroy plant life because of that incident. Even in this country also, when people want to cut down a big tree, they have some sort of fear. What they do, they perform some sort of ceremonies and light oil lamps or candles and joss sticks and pray. Here in this country, people say Dato. It's not Dato, some of the Devas, the vicinity around that area. So the tree is the shelter for them. So that is one of the reasons. So his kindness is unlimited. No one can say there is a limit in his kindness. It is called Maha Karuna Jnana. Then the next one, Sabbanyuta Jnana. One who knows everything. It is not so easy. Sabba means all. Yuta means known. One who knows everything. There is nobody in this world who can say, the Buddha cannot understand this or that. Anything that exists in this whole universe. Take for example, he has said, there are thousands of suns, thousands of moons in the space. But people could not believe. Today, astronomers, to their telescope, they have seen there are many suns, many moons. He said, there are hundreds of thousands or few 100,000 world systems in this universe where there are some sort of living beings. They are not human beings. Different kinds of living beings. But others could not understand. Today, astronomers strongly believe definitely there are some living beings in other planets. Although we cannot communicate, contact, one day they will develop this. There are living beings in other planets, in other world systems. In one galaxy, there may be millions of planets. Among those millions, there may be at least few hundred planets where there are some living beings. That is what astronomers believe. When the Buddha mentioned all these things earlier, by using his all-knowing knowledge, his wisdom, others could not understand. When he said, the whole universe is impermanent, never remain forever without changing. This is the nature of existence. World system appears, exists, decay, disappear. Living beings appear, grow, decay, disappear. All the matters, elements appear, exist, decay, disappear. There is nothing here in this universe that we can say that can remain without any changes, without decay. Sabbe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya passati. One who can understand all those things that exist in this universe, sankhara. Sankhara means combinations of elements, combinations of cosmic energies, combinations of mental energies, combinations of matters, when combined together, different forms take place. If they are with the mental energy, then the life come into existence, such as human beings, animals, a spirit, ghost, devas, brahmas. And if they are without mental energy, then like plant life, rocks, hills, jungles, rivers, earth, then the whole universe divided into three kinds of world system. Sattaloka, Sankharaloka, Okasaloka. World system where there are living beings. Now this is Sattaloka. Different kind of living beings exist. And similar world system exists in the whole universe. But all these world systems into one group called Sattaloka, the world where there are living beings. Then another world system, Sankharaloka. World systems exist, but we can find Akasaloka. In between, only space remains. No element, no world system. Only space. This is called Okasaloka. So the whole universe divided into three. Again, he divides the whole universe into three. Kamaloka, Rupaloka, Arupaloka. Living beings exist who enjoy or who experience sensual pleasure. Human beings, animals, devas. They experience sensual pleasure through their five senses and the body. But in such world system, there are so many troubles and problems and violence and difficulties. Because people are crazy for pleasure. Because of that, they create a lot of problems and troubles and disturbances. Now when we see the world today, all over the world, people are fighting and killing and destroying and burning and bombing and attacking. Why? Because of this. They are crazy for pleasure. Otherwise they don't fight. Animals also fight. They fight and attack and bite because of this pleasure. This is the nature of this sensual world. No one can live peacefully without facing problems and troubles and worries and disturbances. The main cause is craving for pleasure. Then there is another world system. Rupaloka. Fine material world. That is Brahmaloka, Brahma world. Where Brahmas experience calmness, peace, satisfaction in their life. They use only two senses for their survival. eyes and ears. Other three they don't use. They are free from all these problems that we are facing. They are not crazy for sensual pleasure. They experience more peace, more calmness, more happiness, more satisfaction. But there will be an end to that way of life also. This is another world system. Then there is another one, Arupaloka. The life exists without a physical body. We cannot understand. How can life exist without a body? Body is the shelter, house for the life. But here in this world system, life cannot exist without a shelter, without a house. That is why we need the body. That is the house. But there are some world systems that life can exist without a shelter, without a house, or without a body. We cannot understand this. When people develop their meditation, they can cultivate, they can develop their mind into such extent that they do not feel there is a physical body. No feeling. That is the development of that mind. Only mind is working, disconnected from the physical body. But the physical body remains. Mind is working. But here, mind and body work together. That is why we had to experience lot of sicknesses, ache and pains and troubles and problems because related. Mind and body related. When you separate the mind from the body, the mind never get any pain. Body cannot experience pain without mind. Without mind, body cannot experience any pain. So in that world system, life exists, but no physical body to suffer. Before the Buddha's coming to this world, people thought this is the final goal. This is the nirvana. The Buddha said no. Because although mind exists without physical body, their minds are not completely purified. Still they have craving for existence, but no craving for pleasure. Craving for existence is still there. That is why the Buddha introduced nirvana as the final goal. So when we develop up to that extent, the craving for existence also disappear from the mind. Then we will be free from all our physical and mental disturbances. Now you can understand the nature of the Buddha's enlightenment. How he analyzed the whole universe. How he explained. But how many people can understand this? By using that enlightenment. Last one is Anavarana Jnana. Anavarana means the Buddha's enlightenment and the mind is luminous, unobstructed and profound to realize the real nature of everything in this universe. Anavarana. Avarana means hindrance, obstruction. Anavarana means no obstruction, no hindrances. Now when we want to know something, there are a lot of hindrances, obstruction, because our minds are not clear. Lot of disturbances are there. So sometimes we get the wrong idea because the mind is not clear. Our mind is fully clouded, deluded, misled, lot of imagination, wrong conception, wrong belief, wrong ideas we have in our mind. So by keeping all these rubbish in our mind, we cannot see things properly. We cannot understand things properly because the mind is in the dark. So if we want to get the brightness in the mind, we had to remove all these dark clouds from the mind. Our anger, jealousy, grudge, ill will, ignorance, illusion, all these are dark clouds in the mind. Therefore, mind cannot see things properly. The Buddha's mind is completely clear and pure, luminous, brightness. That is why we say he is enlightened religious teacher. He can see things properly. But when he explains to us, we cannot understand. Because our minds are clouded. So we had to know, we had to improve our knowledge, our understanding. Then only we get little bit of understanding. Our knowledge, what we have at this moment about the world and the life and the nature, is just like when the wall is cracked, we peep through the wall crack. Through this crack, we can see a little bit. But we cannot see many things. Our knowledge at the moment is exactly that much. Very, very, very limited. That is why we create misunderstanding, imagination, wrong ideas, because we cannot understand. So if we want to see things properly, to understand things properly, we had to reduce those burdens, hindrances, obstruction that remains in the mind. Otherwise, those things mislead us, encourage us to do more bad things, wrong things. So we must have strong courage and knowledge and understanding to avoid those evil and harmful things and to do certain things which are right and correct. Now you can understand where we stand when we compare our understanding, our knowledge with the enlightened religious teachers. That is why we kneel down, bow down, pay respect for that highest achievement that he gained. So by paying respect, we gain some sort of inspiration, confidence to follow him, follow his guidance and instruction to gain what he got. That is the meaning of paying respect. One day, we also can attain the same higher stage, because it is not limited and not monopolized to one particular group. Any human beings can become an Arahant or the Buddha to gain that enlightenment and knowledge and understanding. Finally, to attain the most blissful state of Nibbana, for us to see the end of all our suffering. That is why Buddhism is needed to guide us, to pave the path. Then slowly, step by step, gradually, we can climb higher and higher and higher and higher. So one day, we also can enjoy same bliss. After that, no more grumbling, accusing, criticizing, blaming, fighting, quarreling, crying, nothing.
Have some blessing.
Abhivadana Silitsa Nityang Adhakayano Chattaro Dhamma Addanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Balam Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Atho Nibbana Sampatti Iminate Samijjatu.